What's up, guys? Welcome back to the HCP podcast, the final fantasy episode this season. It's been a weird season of football, especially for fantasy with injuries and all that. But it's honestly been a very historic year. We've seen amazing performances from Tyler Lockett, Tyreek Hill, and most recently Alvin Kamara. So we're going to highlight all of that and go through our awards. This is going to be a short episode, but we're going to go through our awards, superlatives, whatever the heck you want to call them, to highlight a pretty historic season of fantasy, in my opinion, whether it's for the good reasons or the wrong reasons. So let's start off with lower awards, and we'll make our way up. Let's start off with Rookie of the Year. There's a lot of guys you could have given this award to. You could have given it to Herbert, Robinson, Justin Jefferson. Who are you going to give this one to?
I'm going to give it to my favorite player, Justin Jefferson. You guys know I love Justin, man. He was on my fantasy team. I'm very thankful for what he did all year. I did not come out victorious in my fantasy Super Bowl, if you guys wanted to know. I mean, you probably don't care, but I didn't. But Justin Jefferson, very consistent. After that midway mark, he just started popping off. I mean, he had those 2 breakout games, but he wasn't that consistent before that midseason mark. They had their bye week, and then they just started using him like he was the wide receiver 1 on that team. And I think he's going to take over next year and even be a lot better. And he's definitely going to be drafted pretty high next year, and I'm pretty excited to see what he can do.
I'm going to put my guy probably because I had Dak Prescott on my fantasy season, which, of course, that's my fault for playing Homer. But Prescott was amazing for me, and then I didn't know what to do after that. I was pretty broken, but then this man saved my year. I'm going to give my Rookie of the Year to, of course, Justin Herbert. Had I believe he broke the rookie passing touchdown record this year, which is great for fantasy. That's what you love to hear. He had an insane run. He had that 38-pointer against Jacksonville. He helped me get 192 points that week. And stuff like that is just what you need out of a great QB. He finishes the QB 10 on the year, according to the NFL or in PPR, which I guess that standing. The formats don't really matter for QBs, but yeah, Herbert had a great season. Jeff had a great year. Do you think Justin Jefferson's going to win the actual Rookie of the Year, though?
I really hope so, man. I think he deserves it the most. But, I mean, Herbert had such a great year. He broke so many records that they're going to give it to him because he's a quarterback. But Justin Jefferson, man, what a season. He broke 1,000 yards, like the fastest a rookie's ever done it, I'm pretty sure.
And he broke so many of Moss's records as a rookie.
Oh, yeah. And, I mean, but the quarterback bias, I mean, it's going to go to Herbert, in my opinion.
Yeah. Justin Jefferson is a future all-pro receiver, and I don't think there's any question in that. But let's roll right into our most improved player. This is a guy who played last season, not really was affected by injury, but who just had an insane upgrade compared to last season. We've seen guys like Stephon Diggs break out, DK Metcalf, Calvin Ridley, and I'm not going to put my guy, but my guy for MIP, I'm going to give it to Josh Allen. Josh Allen finishes the QB1 this year, and he had a 100-plus point differential compared to last year and this year, which is something you love to see. And Josh Allen was a guy people were taking in the later rounds of the draft, so you got yourself the QB1. Pretty much it's like this every year. The guy who's the QB1 last year always gets drafted too high the next year, and they never finish as high as that. Same thing with, look at Lamar. Lamar finished, I believe, still as a top 10 QB, but shouldn't have been picked in the 2nd or 3rd round. Then you got guys like Kyler Murray. Russell Wilson didn't play great for like the second half of the season, but the first half he was phenomenal. So I got to give it to Josh Allen. He played great, but you could easily give it to some of these other receivers.
I'm going to give it to the guy that made Josh Allen great. Stephon Diggs. What a pickup by Buffalo. Historic year, historic fantasy year. I mean, he won you guys the Super Bowl if you had him. I mean, you pretty much won if you had him. Same with like Kamara and Devontae. But this guy, the most consistent wide receiver of the year. There was not a single game where he got below double-digit fantasy points. A lot of those wide receiver ones that you guys had did bust a few weeks of the year. But this guy, I mean, he never busted. There was never a real time that you felt comfortable putting this guy on your bench. You had to have him in your lineup, very consistent, and that breakout performance in the Super Bowl was just the cherry on top if you were owner of Stephon Diggs.
Yeah, and Stephon was one of those guys that coming into the season, people were like, there's going to be a lot of guys taken away from him, and no, that just didn't happen because that's how good Josh Allen played and that's how good he played. And then let's move on to the comeback player of the year. This is a guy who Didn't really start off the beginning of the year all that great, but the second half, he absolutely broke out and just went on an absolute tear. Who do you got?
I got David Montgomery. I feel like this one's obvious. I mean, what a stretch going into those playoffs and in the playoffs. He is a true league winner. We talk about league winners on here. We told you to trade for him earlier in the season. And, I mean, he won you the league. I mean, it's simple as that. Those type of pickups, they just change. They bring a fifth place team. They can bring him to the Super Bowl. I mean, just something like that can just help you out tremendously.
Yeah, I mean, I had to go Montgomery here. I mean, you can't help it. I mean, you could go Jonathan Taylor. He had another great end to the season. But Monty, I believe, for I believe with his points, the type of points that he put up, I believe Kamara was like the only guy who outbeat him or something like that. This man didn't put up under 20 points throughout the whole path to the playoffs. If you needed a guy to carry you to the playoffs, Monty was that guy, and he carries you through the playoffs too. I mean, 20 points in the Super Bowl isn't the best thing in the world, but that's something you want out of your running back 1 or running back 2, depending on how many people you have in your league. So Monty was a league winner, no doubt, like Joey said. And then let's go into another guy who could have been a league winner, and that's the waiver wire pickup or just waiver wire god of the year. This one's pretty obvious too. I mean, I don't even think I need to touch on him. It's James Robinson. Come on, man. The man finished as a top 5 running back this year. He honestly could win Rookie of the Year. I wouldn't be surprised if he somehow won it. He's not going to, though, but he had a phenomenal season as an undrafted rookie and really was the only bright spot coming out of this Jacksonville team. So seeing him and Trevor Lawrence next year is going to be something to look forward to. That might be a deadly fantasy duo. Honestly, that's going to be something we're going to be touching on leading up to next year's draft. That might be something that might be on the same level as what Big Ben and Le'Veon was, is the fact that James Robinson gets used in the pass game so much. But he's also a great runner. So that's going to be something great to look forward to in James Robinson. And then before we get into our MVP, let's get into the disappointment of the year. I mean, I'm gonna go Mike Thomas here. I was originally going to say Gurley, but I'm going to go Mike Thomas here just because Mike Thomas was a guy a lot of people picked first, second, third, fourth. He didn't go anywhere past like 5th or 6th overall. And yeah, he battled with injuries, but even then, there was games where, that one game he would have been healthy. He punched a guy in the face and he was out. And then the next week, gets hurt in practice. If he wouldn't have punched that guy, who knows what would have happened? Who knows if things would have been different? He probably still would have gotten injured at practice, but you just don't know. And after this, I don't think Mike Thomas is going to go in the first round. Second and third, probably, but man, I don't know. The fact that, and another guy you want to look at, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he kind of dealt with injury. He wasn't the greatest, but a lot of people expected him to be phenomenal, and I think Le'Veon really did what we expected him to, and that's tank his value. He just stopped getting used in the passing game, especially in PPR formats. His value just wasn't there anymore.
All right, well, I'm going with Joe Mixon, somebody also that was coming off in the first round, second round, mostly second round, but Joe Mixon, people just continue to believe in this guy every year. He did get hurt, just like Mike Thomas, but Joe Mixon did get hurt. But the games that he wasn't hurt, he started off the year really slow, had one breakout performance, and everyone got excited, and then he gets hurt. Yeah. I mean, you can't. That's just the definition of a bust. Everyone continues to believe in this guy every year, and he disappoints every single year. He had one good fantasy year, I think 2 or 3 years ago, and everyone's just so high on him every year, and he busts every year. I'm never drafting him again. I personally had him on my team this year in our league, and I will never draft him or Josh Jacobs ever again because of this issue.
The only reason I had a change of heart for Gurley is because I got rid of Gurley after his schedule became crap. Because he was good. He was good against certain opponents. He put up 18, 19, 25, 22, 20, stuff like that for me. And I appreciated Gurley for that. And he kind of holds that for me. But afterwards, he was horrible. I mean, he didn't even get the start last week. So, I mean, that's a big disappointment, but Mike Thomas really earned the reward for me. And then MVP, I'm going to give some honorable mentions here. Aaron Rodgers was a big guy for a lot of you. Same thing with Josh Allen and Devontae Adams alongside with Tyreek Hill. Had huge performances this year. I think if he would have been a little bit more consistent this year, he could have done it, but Derrick Henry, he just had too many games where he just got game scripted out, and it just didn't end up working in the long run. So I got to give my MVP to a guy that we saw falling towards the middle of the year. or at least I saw him falling towards the middle of the year, but he started to pick it back up, and he had a great Christmas Day game, 6 touchdowns, really just put the cherry on top of a phenomenal fantasy season for Alvin Kamara. This man's going to go first overall next year. I think he deserves it, most definitely. I'm giving my MVP to Kamara, no doubt in my mind. Had the best fantasy season I've seen. I mean, really, it's not as good as Christian McCaffrey's was last season, don't get me wrong, but it's that type of caliber fantasy season.
Yeah, Alvin Kamara definitely had a great year, and he will probably go first overall in mostly every league. But I had to give it to somebody that it's kind of a dark horse candidate, but it's Travis Kelce. I talked about him all year. I mean, I was a tight end rankings guy. This guy was just so... The gap between him and, say, Darren Waller, Mark Andrews, those guys, is just huge, man. This guy, if you had him, if you picked him up, he helped you every single week. There was never a week where he did bad at the tight end spot, and that's something that we barely ever see. Last time we saw it was Gronkowski, but I mean, these tight ends just, they don't come around too often, and for fantasy, it's just a huge advantage on your opponent. If you can have a tight end that can outscore their tight end by 15 points, I mean, you have a huge advantage on your team every single week if you had Kelce. That's why I think he's the true MVP, because of the impact he had at his position. Because there was a couple other running backs that competed with Alvin throughout the year, and had similar performances. Of course, Alvin was the best, but there were other running backs that competed with him. But Travis Kelce, there wasn't anybody really on his level all year, so that's why I think he's the MVP of this year.
Yeah, and the thing with Travis Kelce is that he is the Stephon Diggs of tight ends. He is a literal receiver, but he is the king of consistency. Darren Waller isn't always the most consistent, but you won't ever see Travis Kelce go for 40, 45-yard games. I haven't seen it yet, and I don't think I will see it, because Darren Waller is just that guy. I think he's got more speed than him, but Travis Kelce is a guy that just doesn't get game scripted out. You can't stop Travis Kelce. He's just so big, but his hands phenomenal, his wheels phenomenal. There's so much good about Travis Kelce. He's a generational talent, and I think if Travis Kelce keeps on playing like this, I think he becomes, hate to say it, but he's playing like the best tight end of all time with these type of numbers.
Yeah.
You really can't deny it. Tony Gonzalez, yeah, it's going to be hard to beat him. Gronk, it's going to be hard to beat him, but dude, Travis Kelce he's going to be top
Gronk,
5.
The thing is with Gronk, he had a shorter career. Well, he's still playing, but Gronk's career, he's not going to play for too much longer.
Yeah.
He's way out of his prime. If Travis Kelce can keep this up, say 15 years or something, he's the greatest tight end of all time. If he can keep this type of stuff up and keep playing on this level throughout a long career, yeah, I think he's definitely got it. If you can have a long career better than Gronk and Tony Gonzalez.
Because you've seen long careers like Jason Witten. He's not really a big wheels guy, but Witten's just a Mr. Reliable. Witten's one of those guys where you can just throw it up to. And I feel like Travis Kelce will end up becoming that. But, he'll still have good yardage because those wheels won't go away, in my opinion. And just that, the IQ that he has and the field vision that he has over everyone because of how tall he is, he just reads the field better than any other tight end. And that's not something you get out of every single draft year. You got guys like T.J. Hawkinson, Noah Fant, who are up-and-coming guys, but they're not going to be nowhere near Travis Kelce because I haven't seen a tight end ever I like Travis Kelce. Because Kittle, maybe, but Kittle's just so much better. He's more of a blocking tight end when you look at the advantages that he has over Kelce. But yeah, Kelce is just a phenomenal guy, especially for fantasy. But that's all. That's all for fantasy this year. We've had a lot of fun talking about it. It's kind of sad though, but it's just looking forward to next year. It's a long off season. Looking forward to fantasy is the worst thing because it always takes forever until the draft comes around, but there's a lot of preparing you need to do.
Use that time to prepare.
Yeah,
Use this time, keep preparing for your drafts. We'll be helping you in the summer, but you got to do your own studying too. That's how you win your league. You got to be prepared, more prepared than everyone else.
Not only that, but dynasty leagues are another thing. Dynasty leagues have the biggest off seasons out of any type of leagues just because you don't get to redraft every year. You only get rookies to redraft. So if you are in a dynasty league, you're going to have to pay attention a lot because, if you're putting in money, you want to make sure you get your money back, and we're gonna help you out with that a lot next season. But guys, thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, if you liked all of our fantasy content, make sure you hit the subscribe button, turn on notification bell so you know when we're talking about the rest of the playoffs. And then besides from that, it's the last time we're gonna be talking about fantasy until season 2. But we've had a lot of fun. But thank you guys for sticking around with us. You're welcome for your championships, by the way. You're welcome. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. See you next year. Peace.